three. They can't snap it. They can't stop it. They can't win it. Alabama wins the ball game.
Gary Thomas, linebacker, Alabama.
He was a nightmare for people that had to try to prepare for him because he had unique skills.
Just go get the quarterback. I felt sorry for some of those poor tackles that came in and had to go against him because they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Don, I got to do better than this.
Lights out.
Sacking the cornerback is just like you devastate a city, or you cream a multitude of people. I mean, it's just like you put all the offensive players in one bag, and I just take a baseball bat and beat on the bag. So each time he came over there, I tried to tear his damn head off.
Let's play some football. Let's play some football.
The pressure is on. This is Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Focus on what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Think about that. Don't think about how you feel, how tired you are, how hot it is. You got to push yourself on the field like when you're playing football.
It's my honor to present the national championship trophy to Coach Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
To me, this is the ultimate team. All these guys bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently. And I'm so proud of this group for what they've been able to accomplish and going undefeated and winning the national championship.
Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tide 100.9 app. Here is your host of Off the Edge, Jacob Harrison.
Disappear like man was never here. Rolling machine. Our future supreme. Your man overthrown. Spit out the ball.
Hello there. Good morning. Welcome into Off the Edge Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. I am Jacob Harrison. Bryant Horn behind the glass. Palmer McCall helping us out as well. It's a great day to talk about football. We'll do that for the next 57 minutes. The show, as always, streams live on the Tide 100.9 app, available on your Android or Apple device, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Off the Edge 109. Subscribes, likes, shares, all those sorts of different things are all greatly, greatly appreciated. Keep up with us on Instagram as well at Off the Edge 109. A lot of great, great stuff incoming. Thanks to the help of guys like Palmer McCall, Michael Bronner, who are interns here helping me out, doing a lot of social media efforts and making some things happen. And speaking of making things happen, our brand manager, our guy, Joe Gaither, the Iron Man, getting us set up here today, helping us out. We have got the biggest guest I've ever had in my entire life. I'm super amped, super pumped. In about 10 minutes, we're going to talk with NFL cornerback, 3-year player here at Alabama from 2009 to 2011, a cornerback who was one of the first 5-star recruits for Nick Saban here in the Alabama Crimson Tide dynasty out of Gadsden here in Alabama. Dre Kirkpatrick will join the show in about 10 minutes. He's got his 21 Kids Foundation is partnering with Quality of Life Health Services for a community COVID-19 vaccine clinic. They're in Gadsden this Saturday, and we'll, give him an opportunity to tell us about that, as well as catch up on what he's been up to. Now going into his 10th year in the NFL, looking for a team that, can help put a ring on his finger after 9 years in Cincy and a year in Arizona, still playing incredible ball, still one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL, just looking for a home. We'll talk about, his son being recruited by the Alabama Crimson Tide as well. Plenty to get into. Before we get started with some Nick Saban audio from last night, do want to tell you about Alabama Vintage, alabamavtg.com, at alabamavtg on the Instagram account. And speaking of Dre Kirkpatrick, I know that there was at one point in time, pretty sure it's still in there, a Cincinnati Bengals Dre Kirkpatrick jersey in there as well. There's all sorts of jerseys in there. The jersey collection at Alabama Vintage is insane at this point. 2210 University Boulevard, under the Crimson awning, across from City Hall, heart of downtown T-Town. And Charlie's got the hookup for you on all types of memorabilia and vintage clothing, whether you need commemorative T-shirts, sweaters, starter jackets, a growing selection of shoes, the incredible hat wall. It's all there at Alabama Vintage. And if you find them on Instagram at Alabama VTG, you can also hook up with the brand ambassadors for 15% off your order at alabamavtg.com. But let's get things started with Nick Saban's opening statement from last night's press conference. Saban came in, he was a little fired up, seemed a little angry, seemed like it was one of those practices, came with the message that, these players haven't earned anything yet. There's still work to be done. We talk all the time about the talent, but Nick Saban all the time talks about the mentals and preparing yourself to execute the game plan, regardless of whatever call is made on the field. Nick Saban is about executing the process. Here is Nick Saban at last night's press conference's opening statements. Here's Nick Saban.
So can you go out there every day and do the things you need to do to improve and not be satisfied because you had a good day yesterday? I'm entitled to take it easy today. And if I had a bad day yesterday, I'm going to bounce back today and do something great. But to be able to do it every day, and I think that mindset of your team is so important. High achievement motivation and low anxiety is really, really important. And you got to be able to shut down all the external factors out there, whether it's number one, we're going to be in the playoffs. You haven't done anything to deserve anything. We're honored to, be recognized where we are. But this particular team has, they've got to earn it. They've got to go out there and earn it every day. And players cannot focus on outcomes. They need to continue to focus on the things they need to do to get the outcome. They don't need to have a lot of fear of failure, like they're going to disappoint somebody. They got to focus on what they got to do to be the best players they are, whether it's individually or collectively as a team. This is the team. I think this is the thing. These are the things that sort of define your team. Camp is a great time to get that done. And I think we made, some progress. I know you asked me about the scrimmage this week, and obviously last week we were just trying to do some basic stuff, and this week they'll, be more game-like type situations where, we sort of play this a little bit like an exhibition game, so we can actually see who can go out on the field and execute when the coaches aren't telling them what to do. This will be a little more freedom for the players. We'll also work on, game day coaching organization, from that standpoint. So we're sort of looking, forward to that. But the bottom line is we need more guys to develop consistency and performance so they can play winning football. And we have more depth on our team. We have more competition on our team. And I think that'll make us better. Two guys that have not been able to practice and is, I mentioned Kendall sprained his ankle. DeMarco Hellams also sprained his ankle. And those guys will be out. It'll be day to day, but they'll probably be out for a little while, but we hope to get them back, shortly.
And you heard him talk about DeMarco Hellams, Kendall Randolph as well. Both of those guys day to day, nothing really to stress out about. Just two guys for precautionary reasons. It sounds like with sprained ankles, but nonetheless, I understand where Nick Saban is coming from. The fighting of the rat poison, right? Where you don't get caught up in the idea of, we are the greatest. We've already been dubbed number one. Those sorts of things, they can impact a player's psyche, and he's trying to keep those sorts of things away from his players and trying to instill that discipline that, yeah, you've got some easy games on the schedule, but you're not starting easy. Miami's the number 14 team in the country. Florida's highly ranked as well. And both of those teams play you, outside of Tuscaloosa within the first 3 weeks. So you've got to be mentally prepared. You've got to be mentally prepared to execute. That was something that Coach Saban also addressed as far as what you're wanting to see out of this next scrimmage. You want to see guys get out there, do their jobs without much, talk back from the coaches, right? Without having to be consistently told, this is what's expected of you. You know what's expected of you. You play for the Alabama Crimson Tide. You know the plays, you know the playbook, and you know how to go out there and get the job done, especially against somebody who does not equal your talent level, right? But that's an understood. And I think that's the thing that maybe gets misinterpreted, right? We talk all this greatness about Alabama, and we go ahead and prop Alabama as the number one team as the country. It's not so much of an assumption. It's based off of a track record, right? It's based off of what we know about this program and what we know about Coach Saban and what we know about what to expect when it comes to this football team. Now, coaches hate talking about expectations, right? They hate it. Nick Saban probably, I would assume, this is an assumption, you should never do that, but I would assume probably hates the top 25, right? Like it's just there as a talking piece, and it can enter the minds of young players and make them think that there's something that they're possibly not. And that's what you have to combat here in fall camp, is you start to prepare to go to war in Atlanta against the Miami Hurricanes, who would love nothing more than to knock off the Alabama Crimson Tide and prove that they are the Hurricanes and they are in fact back. Sure, maybe on paper their talent level does not match up. Sure, when all the analysis is done and you look at what both teams are bringing to the table, you would clearly look and see, hey, this Alabama team's got too much for these Miami Hurricanes. But when have you been wrong on those kind of assumptions in the past? You can go back to 2018 in the national championship against Clemson and say you would not have expected that team that year to get blown out and lose by more than 4 touchdowns. You would never expect that, right? So this is about combating that energy and preparing for something great to come here in 2021 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll get into plenty more Nick Saban audio, but right here we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to meet up with our guy, Dre Kirkpatrick, former Alabama Crimson Tide cornerback, as well as a 10-year vet here in the NFL. That's next here on Off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Touchdown! Alabama wins!
The Alabama football countdown clock is driven by Crawford Insurance, Tuscaloosa's low-cost auto insurer. Call 752-6489 for a free quote today.
Roll Tide! Roll Tide!
There are 16 days until Alabama football.
Dominate!
You know what happens in a plasma chamber?
Big stuff. Science stuff.
Diamonds. I'm Tom Osmond. Fincher & Osmond Jewelers carries artisan-created diamonds.
Earth and human safe.
And bigger. Lots bigger.
Fincher & Osmond diamonds from the mines or artisan-created diamonds.
They're all diamonds.
If you want to give her the big stuff, you've got to see these diamonds.
FincherandOsmond.com. A little tricky to find on McFarland Boulevard between Edgar's and Local Roots.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cloudy at times with a few passing showers and thunderstorms likely through tonight. The high today 86, tonight's low 71. Tomorrow and Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds both days with scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms. Highs between 87 and 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 81 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Follow Off the Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for live streams and instant analysis. Off the Edge with Jacob Harrison continues.
We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We're still awaiting the phone call from Dre Kirkpatrick. But while we do that, speaking of cornerbacks, yesterday I stressed how vital it is to recognize that last year that was a great defensive effort from the Alabama Crimson Tide. You can look at all the metrics and compare them against teams that are comparable to Alabama, right? You can actually look at those teams and say, yeah, you're a Power 5 team, or yeah, you're a Power 5 team that played well against other, Power 5 schools or ranked competition, or you're a Power 5 school that was able to actually get turnovers against those kind of competition, or you're a school that was able to get the job done and play more than 10 games, or at least 10 games, right? But one of the things when you look at when it comes down to that is this cornerback play, right? You come off a year with Patrick Surtain and what he brought to this team as a shutdown corner, and we're kind of expecting the same here with Josh Jobe, and for good reason. I mean, the guy's got the goods. I think a lot of people get hung up on the penalties that he tends to cause, and that's understandable, right? You're the guy that's getting all of the targets. I mean, almost all of the targets. If they're on the sideline, they're not over the middle. They were going towards Josh Jobe because you felt as an offense more comfortable challenging him. And not that it was, something that you would prefer to do, but you're more comfortable challenging him than you were with Patrick Surtain, right? So now we come into this season and we're seeing, okay, well, Josh Jobe's going to step into that role. And despite the penalties, he still has an incredible coverage rate and doesn't give up a lot of yards. Even if he happens to give up a lot of catches, right? So when you're looking at what's the deal with the cornerbacks this season, and you're saying, well, Josh Jobe is likely to be the guy that is that shutdown, follows the number one wide receiver, and you look on the other side and you're seeing Jalen Armour-Davis and Kool-Aid McKinstry, who are battling it out for that starting outside corner role. And you're saying, well, what are they going to bring to the table? How are they going to be able to compete at this level? There's a lot of unknowns to both of those guys. Jalen Armour-Davis has had to battle through several injuries, and it's taken some time to climb the ladder, right? Kool-Aid McKinstry, of course, 5-star, top player in the state, top player at his position. But you still have to do it on Saturdays against the top competition, and starting week 1 with Miami, and week 3 with Florida, and then you get into the rest of the SEC schedule. That's not something that's super easy to overcome, right? But you've still got all the talent that's helping you around, right? You've still got to do your job. And Nick Saban talked about DBs yesterday, talked about how important it is for guys to be able to play deep down the field, talked about how important it is to be able to tackle well, to be that last line of defense, how vital and how important that is. And I think that's why Nick Saban likes that position so much, because it is so vital, because it does mean so much. And it can make or break your team, but there's so much pressure on that side of the ball as well. Actually, while we're waiting on Dre, Bryant, let's play what Nick Saban said yesterday concerning his defensive backs and what he expects out of them as we get further and further into fall camp.
Well, I think there's three things that are important when you play defensive back. Number one, you got to be able to tackle. Number two, you got to be able to play the deep part of the field. Number three, you got to be able to play man-to-man. Those are the three critical factors for a DB at any position. You can't get off the field on third down if you can't deny the ball, which means you got to play man-to-man at some point in time. You give up big plays if you can't judge the ball in the deep part of the field, and then you're the last line of defense. So if you can't tackle, they're going to make big plays as well. So those are the critical factors that we look at for DBs. And, so that's what we look at for in recruiting. And that's what we kind of try to develop on the field with our players in the drill work that we do.
And you can certainly see where Alabama has always been good at that, even going all the way back to when Dre Kirkpatrick was first brought in here. He's one of the first, there were 3 5-stars in the 2008 class, 3 5-stars in the 2009 class that Dre Kirkpatrick was a part of. And, Kirkpatrick was a guy that consistently played well. And now you're going to see with Josh Jobe what he's going to bring to the forefront and what Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to bring to the forefront, Jalen Armour Davis, and what they're all going to be capable of are those three things, right? Those are the guys that are leading the pack. You would expect them to be good at those obligations as cornerbacks. So at the end of the day, you feel very strongly about this defensive back core. And then you pair them with those safeties. And I know DeMarco Helms dealing with an ankle injury right now, but you still feel pretty confident in the fact that these safeties are great. And another guy that was touched on last night was Brian Branch. And every time Brian Branch's name comes across the screen or comes across the wire, comes across a conversation, that's one of those guys where he's so talented, so incredibly talented, but yet it's a struggle for him to get onto the field because of the talent that surrounds him. I mean, imagine having a guy like Brian Branch to be a dime corner for you. And to be that kind of guy taking another option away from opposing offenses while Malachi Moore and Jordan Battle and DeMarco Helms and Daniel Wright are all doing their business in the middle of the field as well to prevent passing plays. These are guys that get it, and these are guys that can get the job done and do it very, very successfully. But when you're talking about the middle of the field and you start to move into those inside linebackers and how you're defending the pass, it's so vital in today's game. Is so incredibly vital. It's why you see much smaller linebackers. We're talking about Henry To'o, who Nick Saban last night confirmed as the Mike linebacker for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We're talking about that guy at 6'2", 225 pounds, being a Mike linebacker. That was you were lucky to be a Will linebacker at that size, right? When I was playing ball in high school at 6'3", 225, there were coaches that were saying, "Hey, you're still a little small. You're still a little small, right?" Now that is a prototypical linebacker. That's the guy that can get it done as a Mike linebacker and command the middle of the field and be that guy that can, make the adjustments for this football team and allow another 6'2", 225-pound linebacker in Christian Harris to do his job as a weak side linebacker and chasing plays down and making sure that there's nothing there to stop. There's nothing there to prevent this defense from being great. It puts everybody in their best positions, and that's exactly what you're looking for when you talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide and this defense, right? And with Christian Harris playing his best ball or being in his best position, and you've seen the growth from him from year to year, you're seeing something truly incredible with Christian Harris. And I think, when you're talking about a guy that is a first-round caliber talent, a guy that's expected to contribute quite well on this defense, it's only going to get magnified. And your inside linebackers in a 3-4 defense are only as good as your defensive linemen. And when these defensive linemen are as great as they are, and the rotation is as vital as it is, or as deep as it is, it's vital to the success of these inside linebackers and how they're going to be able to perform week in and week out. Not to mention going up against speedy quarterbacks like Derek King, going up against speedy quarterbacks like Emory Jones. In the first 3 weeks, you're going to be challenged by these incredible athletes for this Alabama defense, but you've got two of the best inside linebacker athletes in the entire country and one of the smartest and best leaders in the country as well as your Mike linebacker. And a guy who's, as Nick Saban said, is fully capable of it on his own just the same. in Christian Harris. This is a defense, and you can beat this defense to death over just how incredible it is. And it feels good, right? It feels good to finally get to a point with this Alabama Crimson Tide defense where without a shadow of a doubt that Alabama's defense is back. I know last year it was a bit of that concern after the Ole Miss game, after the Florida game, those sorts of things. But when you really, really look into it now and you compare the stats that are comparable, make the adjustments within those stat rankings, and you see something truly special, add up all of the additions, add up all of the experience, and you've got a defense that is incredibly gifted and is primed for something incredibly special. We got Dre Kirkpatrick on hold. We'll take a break so that we can reset and get ready for that one. And Dre Kirkpatrick up next here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
This is Renee.
Happy to be here.
She's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Renee runs with us because the most important job is the next one.
That's all I got.
Nothing runs like a Deere. Get a 1 Series tractor for just $99 per month at your John Deere dealer today. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
I said chantilly lace and eggshell, not matte.
Colby's Interior Design Consultancy is floored with new clients.
Wait, what am I looking at here? This looks like plaid.
They need an admin with an eye for design and a knack for numbers.
Okay, hey, look, take a look at this. Do those numbers look right?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Screen for quality candidates with the skills your role needs with Indeed assessments. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
We aren't going anywhere. Off the Edge is available in the podcast center on Tide100.9.com.
We are back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. I'm Jacob Harrison, Bryant Horn behind the glass, Palmer McCall helping us out, as well as the brand manager, Joe Gaither. Right now, we're going to go out to the phone lines, welcome in a very exciting guest, Dre Kirkpatrick, the 17th overall pick in the 2012 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals, an Arizona Cardinal in 2020, but of course, a 5-star cornerback for Alabama out of Gadsden from 2009 to 2011. Helped Alabama to 2 national championships in 2011. Dre, welcome it back into Tuscaloosa, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing incredible. Grateful for the opportunity. Excited to get into this with you. Your foundation, Dre Kirkpatrick's 21 Kids Foundation, is partnering with the Quality of Life Health Services for Gadsden Community COVID-19 Vaccine Clinic. This event is in Gadsden this Saturday from noon to 3 p.m., and you can register by calling 256-439-6404, and more information is available at drekirk21kids.com. Tell us about the clinic, why this effort is so important to you, Dre.
Well, I just feel like it's mostly important because of the tragedy that's going on in America right now with COVID. And I finally reached a hard decision of getting vaccinated, and I just feel like, man, a lot of people don't have that opportunity offered to them, and they don't have the education behind it. So what my foundation and Quality of Life is doing, we've come together and we've gathered up $100,000 in grant money to, provide the information, provide the centers for people to come and get the vaccination. And the Hispanics and the Black are the ones that's, kind of in the less fortunate area far as getting the information and being able to get the shot. One probably less educated, and we just want to educate them on these things.
When we're talking about that trusted information and reaching out to rural communities, especially here in a state like Alabama, where that misinformation can come from a myriad of different places, whether it's social media or network news and those sorts of things. Why in this process did that become such a important aspect of this event, where it's not about necessarily vaccinating as many people as possible, but giving them that information so they can make the best decisions for themselves?
Yeah, because we don't want to force it on anybody, man. We didn't want to force it on anybody. We didn't want anybody to just feel like, hey, we push the envelope of this is what you have to do. We want to push more like, learn a little bit more about it. Talk to more people, talk to your peers, talk to people that has taken a shot, which I have taken a shot. I have been vaccinated. And, I couldn't push the narrative if I wasn't vaccinated. So it was a hard decision for me. And I wanted people to know that this just didn't happen overnight. I wasn't overly excited about it. I did my research. I studied. I constantly was on Google looking at the news feeds, and I learned a lot. And, I just came to the narrative of to protect my family. The only way I can protect my family is to make sure that I'm protecting myself. And that's pretty much how I became vaccinated and how I came up with the decision to get vaccinated.
I can agree with that. And Dre, just into the overall, idea of the 21 Kids Foundation, the service foundations are common among athletes, especially in the NFL. And we see them a lot, with Tua's foundation and so many others. But what kind of led you to begin your foundation in 2013?
I just wanted to give back. Like I said, it was former guys that's from my hometown. They went off to the league, or they went off to be successful in whatever they did. And, nobody really came back. Nobody really came back, gave to the youth. Nobody gave back to the community. We have a lot of homeless going on in where I'm from. And, I just wanted to just try to educate them, clean it up, get those kids motivation, get the adults motivation. We have outreaches to get grants for scholarships to just motivate everybody, not just one set of people or one set of groups, not one set of race, all race. And that's what we're doing, man. So that's kind of where my passion went, because I was one of those kids that was always wishing that somebody could throw a camp. I never had a camp growing up. I never did all the fun things that I'm doing now. So that was the things that I wanted. When my platform came, that's what I strived for.
And Dre, Nick Saban does a lot for the Tuscaloosa community here, celebrating Nick's Kids Foundation, what they've done, through the tornadoes and now through with the Children's Center that's going to be built here, on the Black Warrior River. Have there been kind of words of wisdom from Coach in the effort to kind of give back to your hometown in Gadsden?
He's always told us, give back to our hometown. Never forget where you came from. Be a role model, not just by talking about it, by doing things for it. And that's kind of the things that stuck with me. That was kind of the clarity that I needed when I was at Alabama. But so I'm just trying to do as best as I can and get as much help as I can.
Absolutely. We're talking with Dre Kirkpatrick, former Alabama cornerback, current NFL cornerback, heading into his 10th NFL season. His foundation, 21 Kids Foundation, is partnering with Quality of Life Health Services for a Gadsden Community COVID-19 vaccine clinic. And more information on that can be found at DreKirk21kids.com. Dre, over the summer, you were able to come back. I do want to talk about your son's recruitment here in just a bit, but, coming back and kind of getting that taste of nostalgia, you were on those teams that helped build the dynasty that Alabama fans still enjoy today. When you look back on those teams and those players, Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram and all the guys that helped, build the dynasty that exists today, what stands out to you now?
They loaded in their position. I was actually talking to one of my friends the other day, and I know some of the young corners that's there now. Devontae Smith, the freshman, Kool-Aid. Obviously, I know Kool-Aid. got great relationship with those guys, and we keep up with each other on social media. And I was talking to a friend about I think it was, I ain't gonna say who it was about. It was one of them, and he was kind of like worried about if where he's gonna play because they spot playing him, which they spot playing all of them. They got to learn everything. Like I was telling my friend, I was saying, well, when we was playing, if one got hurt, the talent level dropped. When they get hurt, they got another 5-star coming behind them. So that's the total difference that I see is the amount of talent that Coach Saban has built over there and the amount of talent that they're going to continue to have.
Yeah, if I look back correctly, you were in a class with 3 5-stars. There were 3 5-stars in the class before you, so there were somewhere around 6, 7, possibly 8 5-stars at Alabama when you were playing. At least your freshman
and
year.
we was all starting. But when you look at the guys that was behind us, they wasn't 5-stars.
Right. Now you look and
they normally didn't play.
Right. Now you look and there's 5-stars got to wait 2 or 3 years just to get on the field. We're looking at our sophomore quarterback, who had to bide his time. But when you look at how Saban's kind of coaching his defensive backs today, there's been talks that maybe he's, calmed down a little bit over the years. Do you get that impression at all after having seen him work at a camp here recently?
I tell him all the time. I say, Coach, you're getting soft on me. And he don't like that, but I still tell him anyway, all fun and games. But yeah, man, he's adapting to the time. When I was playing, we was having 2 days. Counts was a lot harder. Practice was a lot harder. And there's so many rules that you can do with these kids now. So it's a little different. He have to switch his techniques up. But hey, it's still working. But I definitely always like make jokes with him about how soft he done got.
Well, he's still getting the job done, and that's what counts. Absolutely.
That's all that
counts. We mentioned your son, Dre Kirkpatrick Jr., a 2024 corner. He's following in your shoes, playing out there with the Titans in Gadsden. What were kind of the emotions like for you watching him getting coached by Nick Saban and working out at the practice fields here in Tuscaloosa this past summer?
It was kind of surreal. My son was old enough to be at Alabama when I was at Alabama. He was more like 4 or 5 years old when I was at Alabama. I had him at such young age. So just to see him from a kid growing up, when Coach Saban used to mess with him when I haven't brought him around or things like that, to now actually teaching him and coaching him and in the camp, it was kind of a surreal moment for me, man. Just proud moment, and just kind of overwhelmed with a little bit of emotions after the camp.
Did you give him any kind of pointers on how Nick Saban behaves with his cornerbacks? He's a little bit tougher on them. Did you give him any pointers or just kind of throw him into the deep end?
I just throw him in. Hey, he got to learn how to swim. So I just throw him in.
I hear that. Talking with Dre Kirkpatrick, NFL cornerback, former Alabama Crimson Tide, 2-time national champion. His 21 Kids Foundation is partnering with Quality of Life Health Services for Gadsden Community COVID-19 Vaccine Clinic, and you can find more information at DreKirk21kids.com or call 256-439-6404 to register. We touched a little bit on some of the cornerbacks that are here today, and Josh Jobe is a guy that gets a lot of attention. Kool-Aid, of course, because of the nickname and the branding opportunities there, but just like you, number 1 player in the state, number 1 player at his position in the country. He's battling with Jalen Armour-Davis. What have you kind of seen, here after you came back through the summer with these 3 guys who have such talent and can contribute to this incredible defense in 2021?
Like I said earlier, man, I'm kind of real close with Kool-Aid. I met him a couple years back at an 8A camp, and we kind of followed each other on Instagram, been keeping up with him. And I just always just tell him to stay focused. Make sure you gotta keep your face card because the talent's there. Coach gonna get the talent out of him. I'm not worried about his talent. I'm just worried about making the right decisions, keeping a good impression, making people like him, and just giving him all the things that no one really told me, that I could look up to when I was at Alabama. And, just keeping that brotherhood alive and whatever, information or advice I can give him, my door is always open to those guys.
And focusing now, you're entering your 10th year in the NFL. You had an incredible year last year. I've got to say that. 3 interceptions, 9th year in the league out there in the desert with Arizona. But you visited the Saints, the Patriots this summer. What are you kind of looking for your next chapter in the NFL?
Yeah, and I went to the 49ers. Right now, I'm just, like I said, I feel like I should be compensated for the play that I played with last year. The level that I played at last year, I was one of the better corners on our team. Kind of led the team in interceptions. So, didn't give up that many balls, gave up 2 touchdowns the whole year. I just feel like I need to be compensated. I'm not asking for $100 million, just a little something more than the minimum.
Hey, I know you spent 9 years out in Cincy, but I know the Steelers just opened up a lot of cap space. We could use somebody across from Joe Hayden now.
hey, whatever fits, whatever fit my scheme, however they come at me, I'm willing to play ball. Like I said, I just don't want to take the minimum. I don't think I'm worth the minimum. And if that time comes, I'm gonna be ready.
I fully agree with that. You had an incredible season last year. The end is not near. One more time, tell us about the vaccine clinic and the work that 21 Kids Foundation is doing.
This Saturday, the first Hispanic vaccine clinic will be held in Gaston, Alabama. And it's just not for the Hispanics. It's just not for blacks. It's for all race, white, black, green, whatever color you are. Come get vaccinated. Get vaccinated on Dre Kirkpatrick 21 Kids Foundation, Quality of Life.
This Saturday, noon to 3 p.m. You can register by calling 256-439-6404, and there is more information, DreKirk21Kids.com. Dre, I greatly appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you back in the NFL and look forward to continuing to watch your son's recruitment as well. Have a blessed day,
Yes,
sir.
Thank you. Blessed day, too.
Absolutely. Dre Kirkpatrick, man, that was awesome. Super pumped that we got that done. Big thanks to Joe Gaither as well. We'll take a break, come back, close down Off the Edge here on Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
Do you suffer from lower back pain, knee pain, foot pain, or fallen arches? Do you? If yes, just stop and write this magic word, G-Defy, G-D-E-F-Y. What is G-Defy? G-Defy is the footwear designed by Gravity Defier Medical Technology with the worldwide patented VersoShock sole. Their shoes are clinically shown to relieve pain by a double-blind clinical study conducted by Olive View UCLA Medical Center. You can try a pair for 30 days with free corrective fit orthotic inserts. If you're not satisfied, just return the shoes for a full refund and keep the free orthotics as a gift. Put an end to suffering. Save $20 and get free shipping from Gravity Defier when you go to gdefy.com/radio and use code RADIO. That's gdefy.com/radio, code RADIO. You have nothing to lose but your pain.
If you're in HR, you're probably wearing a lot of hats. Recruiter, team builder, trainer, mediator, policymaker, and of course, paper pusher. But not anymore. Bamboo HR is the #1 HR software for small and medium businesses. It manages all your employee data easily and automates countless tasks so you can focus on people, not paperwork. Bamboo HR frees you from spreadsheets so you can do your real job, creating a great place to work. If the data shuffle and paperwork mountain have you ready to hang up all your hats, you're ready for Bamboo. If you handle HR records and paperwork, Bamboo HR is a dream. Let us free up your time and put your days of pushing paperwork behind you so you can focus on the people and making your company a great place to work for everyone. Try PC Magazine's top pick for HR software free today. Just go to bamboohr.com/panda. This is a limited offer only available to radio listeners at bamboohr.com/panda. That's bamboohr.com/panda.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Garrett Dvorak throw a virtual baby shower for his wife, Ellie.
Just to see everyone's expressions, I don't have words for it.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month per line for 4 lines, you could save up to $80 per month.
Total Wireless, you guys pulled through.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. 5G capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of the leading carrier for 2021. See terms and conditions at totalwireless.com.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cloudy at times with a few passing showers and thunderstorms likely through tonight. The high today 86, tonight's low 71. Tomorrow and Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds both days with scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms. Highs between 87 and 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 81 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Again, a big thank you to Joe and to Dre Kirkpatrick for getting that put together. And that was an incredible interview. It was a lot of fun. We'll have that clipped out. I know that we had a lot of people, enjoying the stream that kind of jumped out when it took a minute to get Dre on, but we'll have that clipped out. It'll be available on YouTube. It'll be shared to all of our socials. A lot of fun things happening. So if you missed pieces of that interview or anything like that, at Off the Edge 109, you'll be able to catch the full thing later today at your convenience. That's something that we really strive to do here with this show as well. Yesterday, though, got into the press conference, got the gumption up, asked Nick Saban a question. I don't get a chance to do that very, very often, but I definitely wanted to touch on the defense especially after yesterday, spending so much time discussing it. And wanting to know what Henry To'oTo'o's addition does for Christian Harrison. This is what the greatest head coach in college football had to say about his inside linebackers.
Yeah, well, I think what Henry's done is let Christian play his more natural position, which is will and money. He can play Mike, and he's a very good Mike. But Henry's a signal caller. He's been a signal caller. Having experience at doing that is very helpful. It's less of a burden on other players on the team. I think it helps everybody on the team when you have good communication, especially at the linebacker position. It's a little bit like the quarterback on offense. So, and Henry has done a really, really good job of that. Christian is capable of doing that, and we have every confidence that if he needs to do it, he can do it. But I think the combination of those two guys both being able to do it is very, very helpful, especially when it comes to making adjustments and fit and runs and being in the right spot and coverage. So it's been a very, very positive thing.
205-342-9904 if you want to react to that or the Dre Kirkpatrick interview, more than welcome to do that. Got about 10 minutes left in the show. But I think, Saban's on to something right there. And we've kind of discussed it and speculated, would that be Henry To'oTo'o's role because of the intelligence and what he brings, what he did for Jeremy Pruitt with the Tennessee Volunteers the past 2 seasons. And that certainly seems to be the case. And when you talk about a guy's leadership skills so much, and then you kind of, devolve that into, the things that he does well, and the things that he does well are oftentimes, that closing speed, being a sideline to sideline guy. He's not quite the pass coverage linebacker that Christian Harris is. All of that kind of comes together, and having a true understanding of the Alabama Crimson Tide defense, because he comes from something so similar with Jeremy Pruitt, that's a unique luxury, right? And this is kind of the thing that Nick Saban talked about in the transfer portal. And if you want to read more about kind of this, what Nick Saban had to say and the breakdown of that, it's at tide109.com. But that is a unique situation Nick kind of warned the world, right, with the transfer portal. Like, yeah, I'm going to lose guys on the back end of my roster, and they'll be good players. You look at Jerome Ford with Cincinnati; he's one of their top players, right? We'll lose guys to the transfer portal. Keelan Robinson's going to do exciting things with Texas, but the pain won't be inflicted on Alabama. It won't be like all these drastic scenarios where the quarterback's going to get mad and transfer. Like that's not reality. This isn't Friday Night Lights, the movie or whatever. Like, where just the most dramatic thing possible can happen. This is a reality that we live in. guys are doing what's best for themselves, and overreacting like that's not doing what's best for yourself. But when you talk about the opportunity for Alabama to get better, that's all Alabama's ever used the transfer portal for. And you look back on Landon Dickerson and the impact that he had on this university. And when you talk about legends, this is where legends are made. Landon Dickerson would have been nothing had he stayed, his college career at Florida State. Now, when he came to Alabama, of course, he would have had to put in the work to become the player that he became, and to become a second-round draft pick and be lauded as one of the best offensive linemen to ever play here. So Henry To'oTo'o still got to do that too, right? Like, we're still in fall camp. He's still got to prove that that he's grown as a player, that his trend is still upward as it has been his first 2 seasons. Remember, this guy's a junior. He's a junior. For any Tennessee fan to kind of sit and say, well, Henry To'oTo'o sucked at this and this and this and this. Guy, he wasn't old enough to buy beer yet. Like, it still takes some time to grow and mature as a player in the SEC. That's why Alabama deals with so much experience these days, is because the recruiting has overlapped to the point now where it's less about, freshmen coming in and fixing a piece, or a sophomore coming in and fixing a piece. It's more, you see third-year sophomores and junior, fourth-year juniors and seniors kind of contributing to the football team more and more and more now. And it being a positive, because those players were already great when they got here. And Dre Kirkpatrick kind of touched on that a little bit, right? The depth to these teams now is so insane that, you can survive disasters at Alabama. And Alabama's kind of proved that over the years as well. But still, like, focusing in on that transfer portal, it's benefited Nick Saban so much. And you look on the other side of the ball, and you look at punter. And we're still trying to figure out who the punter is with Jack Martin and some of those other guys. Well, you look at wide receiver now with Jamison Williams. And I told you. I'm a big I told you so guy. I told you, don't sleep on Jamison Williams. Don't do it. Nick Saban said it himself last night, and Brian, if we can get that on Jamison Williams, where it's not out of the realm of possibility for this guy to be a, quote, feature player in this offense because of what he brings. Listen to what Nick Saban had to say about his newest addition at wide receiver.
Yeah, he's done great. He's a really good player. He's got, really good speed. You can tell he's an experienced player. He's played at a high level against good competition. And he's very bright. So he's picked up on things and learned the offense very quickly. So we're encouraged with what he's done. And I'm sure he's going to make a really positive contribution to our team and, be a featured guy in some ways.
And that's absolutely the case, right? When you talk about a guy that brings that kind of speed to the table, think back to Jalen Waddle, right? Working his way into the rotation with the other wideouts. When you're talking about Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and Devontae Smith, and how Devontae Smith became that de facto forgotten man, despite, catching second and 26, despite, being the receiving end of one of the greatest plays in Alabama Crimson Tide history, becoming that forgotten man. It had to do with Jalen Waddle and how special he was, right? It had to do with what he brought to the table. And we saw the same things with Henry Ruggs, who would take those slants and he was gone for 80 yards because Tua could put it on him in such a way that it boosted his ability to get out of harm's way and get down the field with quickness, right? But traditionally, Alabama would always stick to 3 wide receivers, right? It wasn't this big rotation like we kind of expect to see now with so many names at the wide receiver position. But it was more of a three guys, a tight end or 2, and the running back, right? And if you had to go running back by committee, you did. But Jalen Waddle kind of killed that narrative, right? Because he forced himself onto the field. Now, Jamison Williams, much more experienced player. It's a slightly different situation. But when you're talking about the chemistry that Bryce Young has displayed with Trayshawn Holden and the experience that returns with John Mechie and Slade Bolden and Javon Baker, then you're like, well, that's 4 guys. But none of those guys have the speed that Jamison Williams does. And if we're getting into a situation where we've got a rotation of guys that can contribute to this offense and make use of Bryce Young's arm, because he's got a big arm. He's got a big arm. I know he's he's not the biggest guy in the world. And no, his arm probably might not have the same deep strength as maybe Paul Tyson, but he's got some zip on his passes. He's not a scrub in this regard. He's got the goods to make use of Jameson Williams down the field, and that's going to be vital to this team. You're going to want to have that luxury of being able to score at will whenever you want to, whether that's on slants, whether that's on hitches, or whether that's on streaking 9 rounds, right? And that's something that Jameson Williams brings to this football team. Now, you've got a lot of possession receivers, and those are great to have. You're going to be able to, work the middle of the field and nickel and dime as well with guys like Slade Bolden. But at the same time, to have diversity in your wide receiver room, that's something that's very, very special to have. And it's important to have with an offense that has such a talented quarterback like Bryce Young. That's all we've got for today. Big thanks to Joe Gaither, Bryant Horn, Palmer McCall. The Jay Barker Show is up next from 12 to 2. Ryan Fowler in the game takes you home from 2 until 6. High school football kicks off tomorrow night from 6 to 9. Kerry Clark and I will have you for Friday Night Lights, and an hour after that, Bryant Horn will have you for the Scoreboard Show. All the high school football content that you can gather there at Tide109.com. Until tomorrow, have a great Thursday, everybody.